Hi, it's Susan. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be working on a make-ahead, just these little fabric doodads. All of us take little scraps of fabric and do something to either sew or glue them onto our journal pages. And so what I have started doing was using my packing paper to kind of prep things so then I can go over to the sewing machine. So I just kind of use my glue stick to get these things held in place for me, and I'm just using my cheapy whatever I find at the dollar store glue stick right now. Hide that little seam. And the reason I'm doing it on paper, one, of course, it's much easier to sew when you've got things kind of contained like this, but also because then I can tear these apart or cut them apart however I want. And when I glue on the back of the paper, the glue, if we're using Fabri-Tac like so many of us are, the glue is not going to seep through the paper and show through on our little fabby things. Forgot to fray this one. And I mean, this is not rocket science. This is just kind of trying to work ahead. It's just nice to have some things worked ahead of time so that then when you're working on a project you can go to your stash and see. Now what happens with me, I would say part of the time I can go to my stash and find something that I want to use, and the other part of the time I end up making something that's going to be custom for that particular project. But if it saves me a little bit of time, I'm all for it. I am all for it. And of course there's no particular way you have to put any of these things down, and you can, I like odd numbers, so I tend to work in threes when I'm doing this. And so I keep, this is on my desk and I have some paper clips, and so at the end of the day, if I'm doing it right, at the end of the day I'll just gather up three things that look like they go together and paper clip them, and that way they're ready. I can either use them just like this, or I can do something like this and glue things down. This was cleaning off the studio island. So yeah, like I said, not rocket science, but I told myself I was going to start turning on the camera when I was just doing basic things so that I could stay in touch with folks, because if I wait until I'm doing a big thing or a live, I'm not going to be posting as many videos, and I really want to be putting more videos out there. So this is the goal. Not a lot of editing is going to happen, if any. The only time I really edit is if for some reason I have to stop the video and come back to it later, and then I've got to splice things in. But otherwise, what you see is what you get, which is the way it is with a lot of videos. And if you don't like that, sorry. If you do, and I appreciate you understanding. Just realized one thing I forgot to check on my video here. Oh good, it's using the right microphone. I'm still not completely confident in the way I'm using my Logitech software for doing my recording. Sometimes I think it remembers my settings and sometimes it doesn't, and something's still not right when it comes to doing my live stream, so I gotta mess with that a little bit. The other nice thing about having the paper, besides not having the glue seep through, is then you can tear it and you can ink around the edges, and it's kind of hard to ink around fabric. Oh, and this is actually just a piece of handmade paper. So again, just kind of getting things down, filling up this page, and then I'll get the sewing machine. And I'm still working on stuff for the flow journals, which has just kind of grown, the amount of stuff that is going to go in there, but I hope to get the island cleaned off maybe next week so I can start laying out all the pages. Whoops, forgot to fray that one. And of course I saved all those little threads, right? We all save all those little threads. It's not warm enough for me to open the doors and windows, so you guys can't hear it, but because it's super windy right now, but my chimes are going crazy. And if all goes according to plan, this video will go up right after I finish recording it. And then I'm going to get ahead of the game and do a couple more videos. I have been working on some copyright-free image videos for you. Those do take a little bit more time because I want to make sure that I can show y'all how to easily navigate the various sites and that I'm not missing something major. I don't want to steer anybody down the wrong path, but I know it's been a while and I kept promising and promising, but I should have something like that up for you real soon. If there are videos or tutorials or something that you would like to see more of, I sure would love to hear from you about it, because sometimes I'm ready, I've got the time, I've got the quiet in the house, and I'm ready to do a video, and I realize I have no idea what to do. So you guys need to help me out there and let me know. I would love to do a Q&A kind of thing, but I don't know that anybody ever asks me enough questions that would fill up a video, so that might have to wait until I'm a little more well known, and that's fine. Everything takes time. I need to not be in a rush. All these things are going to happen as they're supposed to happen. It's so hard, and even at my age of almost 62, you know, I still forget. Everything takes time, and this art career of mine, which is both, you know, making the digital stuff and making art to sell and doing the YouTube videos, all of that, it's a new career. It's a new career path. And I certainly didn't sell the first or second or third or probably not even the 10th book I wrote. It took me quite a while of gathering rejections before I sold anything at all. And that's the thing with any kind of creative work. You really have to be willing to put up with the downtimes, because you gotta be your own hero. Not everybody is going to champion you, and that's a sad fact of life. So you got to be your own hero. You've got to remind yourself that you can do it and that it's worth doing it. And you know, even not even thinking business wise, just thinking in terms of creating. You know, many of us create as a form of therapy. You know, it's stress relief. And that's awesome. And I think that's one of the things that art is really good at for us. But we need to remember to be kind to ourselves, that it's okay to do things in our own time, at our own pace. Oh, see, even Zoe agrees with me. And, you know, don't be in a hurry to compare yourself to somebody else. Comparing never, ever ends well for you. And I say that because, you know, it's been the story of my life to continually compare things that I shouldn't compare. And that's not good. It's not healthy. It's not mentally healthy to do comparisons. We all bring different skill sets to the table. And we all have different life experiences. You know, my path to working in art is completely different from your path, and your path is completely different from my path, and that's the way it should be. And we can all learn from sharing that kind of experience. But, you know, don't look at somebody else's art and say, oh, I could never do that, or, you know, there's my version of that isn't as good, because you know, all it does is hurt you and stop you from continuing to create. And the only way you're going to get any better at anything that you're doing is by putting in the time. I can't remember the old adage, something like 1,000 hours. It might even be more than 1,000 hours. Maybe it's like 100,000 hours. Somebody might know, and let me know down in the comments how many hours you have to put in on something before you really know it in your gut, kind of know it. I mean, I was a writer for over 30 years, and I would not consider myself an expert writer at all. I knew how to do some things well, but I had editors and agents and people that helped me along my path and pointed out areas where I could grow, and I was receptive to that kind of feedback from them. This glue is going to hold. I haven't used this glue on fabric before. I just need it to hold till I get to the sewing machine. So yeah, so don't compare. Because then compare makes you think about not making it work, makes you think about failure. And I think all of us, no matter how long we've been doing something, we all have a little bit of a fear of failure. I mean, maybe there's some people that don't, but most everybody I've ever met has a bit of a fear of failure in them. And, it's natural. That's human instinct. But gosh, don't let your fear of failure keep you from doing some of the things that you feel called to do. Because many years ago, when my kids were very little, which made it difficult, I was very close to agoraphobic. I can't say that I was just a loner. I just didn't, I was afraid to get out and drive. I was afraid to go anywhere. And of course, that's kind of hard when you have kids and you've got activities that you want to do with the kids. But that fear of something happening, I mean, it's a different kind of fear, but still, it's a fear, kept me from being involved in a lot of things that I probably would have enjoyed. And, fear of failure with art, so what? If you do a journal project, you do a journal page and you share it and somebody says that, wow, you should have used a different color there and I can see your crooked stitchings and what have you. So what? What does it hurt in the universe if your stitchers are crooked or you used a different color than somebody else might have used? It does not change the world turning. It doesn't mean the sun's not going to come up tomorrow. I mean, when you look at it in the giant scheme of things, with all the stuff going on in the world, wherever part of the world you're in, there's stuff going on that could be better. Look at it in context and realize, the art, the joy that you get from your art needs to be more powerful than anything that anybody is saying to you. And the only way to get over that is by doing more and sharing it in a supportive environment. Find some Facebook groups. If you're not sure which Facebook groups to go check out to be supportive, I highly recommend Tracy Fox's Foxy Crafters. That is an awesome group of support. Tracy just encourages kindness and support at all ages and stages of your artistic endeavors. Andrea at Artie Mays has another really supportive group. Donna at Junk Journal Ideas has a supportive group. Let's see, who else? Who are my other favorites? Junk Journal Tutorials is a supportive group. But I tell you, my home base seems to be, Friendly Junk Journal People is another good one. My home base seems to be Tracy Fox's Foxy Crafters and Andrea's Artie Mays. And so surround yourself with people that are supportive. And, it's a safe environment to share your work. And you get used to sharing your work. So you know that you're going to get feedback that's going to be encouraging to you. If you're in a group that is not encouraging to you, why? Why are you staying? Because there's no reason to go where you're not celebrated. You need to go where you are celebrated. And it doesn't mean that everybody's going to love your stuff. What it means is they're not going to knock you down for whatever it is that you're doing. I need my other glue stick. And when you have a supportive environment like that, all it takes is a few people commenting on a picture that you share or a video that you post. And suddenly, you get those positive comments and you're like, wow, I can do this. I want to do this. People like me doing this. And there's just nothing like that feeling in the world. So if you're in a group that is not giving you that kind of feedback, maybe stop and think about why. Now, I don't have any names of groups that are not supportive. I don't know any. So far, everybody in the junk journal book building community has been fabulous that I have met. There are rules to be followed in every group, so you need to acquaint yourself with the rules of the group and make sure you follow them. But, and maybe you're not brave enough to share your work yet. So take a look in the group and find somebody that you see is posting positive comments, that is giving kind support to people, and reach out to them. And, maybe they can give you a little bit of encouragement. Like I said, most people are very friendly and supportive. If you're afraid to post your work, send me a message on Facebook. Let me see what you're working on. Leave me a link in the comments here to a video showing something that you've been working on. I'll go over and check it out. I will. We have to support one another because that's how our art is going to grow, but that's also how our heart is going to grow. You don't create in a vacuum. If you do, eventually you're going to run out of ideas. You're going to run out of, not just ideas, you're going to run out of enthusiasm. You know, I create so that I can share my stuff with people that enjoy the kind of things that I create. You know, yeah, I create some things because it's a business and, you know, I am making an income from it. And there are a lot of people out there in the same boat, but also because, you know, how much fun is it to create that journal page that you're just so happy with and then share it with somebody that totally gets all the work that you put into it, and they understand the layers and they understand the colors and they understand the textures, and they're cheering right along with you that you made it happen. You know, those are the kind of people that you want to be around. All right, I think I'm just about got room for one more here. I have no idea who pulled out my soapbox, but they did. And so I will get this little one glued down, and then I will put away my soapbox and get out the sewing machine. So see, there's no rhyme or reason to how I'm doing this. I'm just getting them down, and then I'm going to stitch all over them. And then I will tear apart the things. And if you're, you know, now some of us, okay, this kind of thing would be very frustrating because it was just too random. So, you know, maybe you just want to tear what you want now, knowing that you're going to want to ink something and that you're going to want some of the paper showing. And then you can find a little something. I find it a little harder to sew when they're tiny like this, but it's not impossible. There's no reason you can't make it work. All right, let's do this. This. And love this green lace. All right, so see, and then I could ink around the edges, but I am going to sew that down. All right, let's get the sewing machine out, which means making room. And in order for me to still be in frame, I've got to put it up higher than I normally would use it, but that's okay. And looks like I have thread left. All right, let's do the little one first. You know, and it's up to you what kind of sewing you want to do. I'm going to do a zigzag just because it seems to hold a little better. And that is all I'm going to do. Let's see, I think I have some ink here. Take my ink. Oh, I need to get the re-inker out. This is kind of dry, but that's okay. It still works. So see, there we go. And then if you wanted to dress it up, of course, you could sew a charm or a bead or a button into the center of it. You could leave your threads hanging. And that could go right on a journal page, which if I had been a little more prepared, I would have one for you to show you, but let's see. I don't have a journal cover, so it could go on a cover and you could add a little something there. All right, let's get a few more of these things sewn down. Little flat ones like this, where it's just like maybe 3 strips, are also really good band-aids if you need to repair a hole on a page. And you could just sew from one to the next, but I'm going to leave a little bit of space in there. And turn it a little because I don't know that I caught everything there. I know I can't be the only person that saves all this wonderful packing paper, right? This one needs to go this way. Where's my scissors? Let's just cut that. Kind of hard to do much talking while you're sewing, so apologies for that. This is the part where I should have said, talk amongst yourselves. I'm not liking the zigzag as much as I thought I would. Let's switch to straight stitch. And of course, as soon as I do that, I wished I'd had a zigzag. Ah, well, okay, some of them are falling off, and that's okay. I don't know if I caught everything. Oh, looks like I did. All right, we're going to go back to zigzag. All of you experienced sewers can be having a good laugh right about now. And all of you inexperienced sewers can say, see, it's not just you. Just as easy just to keep going backwards. Whoops, something got icky down there. And sometimes it's not because you lose everything. Whoops. One of these days I'm going to have to read the manual and figure out how my machine threads itself. I know it's an option, but so far it was just more than my brain was picking up. Come on. There we go. Let's see what I messed up here. I always have to look at the pictures and make sure I'm putting that in there correctly. Have a fear about creating, I would love to hear about it. Let me know what you're afraid of, and then maybe we can talk about it in a future video. So my personal fear with regards to creating, artsy stuff is that, my stuff is not unique. But you know what? Everybody's stuff is not unique. we're all grabbing ideas from everybody else, and you know, it's your take on it, shoot, that is going to make it unique. I did it again. All right, let's see if I can manage to not have to rethread the needle. So it's one of the things that I always worry about. It's like, well, what am I doing that's any different from, you know, 50 different other people that are doing stuff? And the truth is, I'm not doing anything probably any different than anybody else. But the more videos that I put out and the more you get to know me, hopefully you're going to want to hang around and see what I'm doing and what's going on in my creative life. And it's a personal fear I just need to get over, is that, you know, same thing with writing. I mean, all the stories have been told. They're just different, maybe different settings or different characters, and you just need to put your own take on it. I used to have so many beginning writers in my writing classes that just didn't understand that, and they thought that, you know, their idea was absolutely unique, but I could give the same newspaper article to 20 writers and give them, you know, half an hour to write me a story, and I would get 20 different stories because based on the same idea. So personally, I need to get over feeling like I'm not unique enough to share my art. And then of course there's always the, am I good enough? Good enough compared to what? Because then you fall back into the compare game, and that's not a good thing. We don't want to compare ourselves to anybody else. There are some things that we're each naturally good at, and we tend to gravitate towards those. I will never ever sew clothes. I know that. It's more than just what my home ec teacher told me. I'm not good at it. I don't want to spend the time to get good at it. I don't enjoy doing it. So why would I invest my time in it? Now, sewing paper to fabric and sewing fabric into things that I could use in journals is a completely different type of sewing for me. So I'm really excited to learn how to do more about that and learn more about my sewing machine and how it operates, that kind of stuff. Let's do a couple more. Let's see, what else are we missing? This one. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you don't like the double rows of zigzags, only do one. I do that so I don't have to go back and forth at each end, or once upon a time I actually used to pull all the threads beneath and tie knots, and boy, that was time consuming. Checking the time. It's about half an hour. Let's see. I'll do this one. Should not have done it like that. I waste a lot of thread, I know, but then I save all my thread, so it's not completely wasted. All right, this one the glue didn't stay, so I like things where they're loose at the edges. I think I got everything. One of them fell off completely. Oh, and that one, no, that's got everything. Let's see, where's my little basket? I've got room for one more over there, a little one. That one should work. I'm not going to take the time to glue that on since it's just one. Out of the way. So we've got this little one we did, and so now we can come in here and just tear these apart. If you like it more precise, of course, feel free to get out your scissors and cut them, but I'm not that precise because these are going to go on something else. They might go on a book page, or let's see, what do I have here? You know, so they could go on a little journal card. All of a sudden everything got bright. Let's see if that helps. Hopefully that comes into view okay. Let's see, I can put these, ooh, that looks really pretty on that. I have so much of this packing paper. And I used to actually iron it before I sewed it. Or before I used it. It's like, nope, nope, nope. I mean, if I was doing a journal that I really wanted to have nice flat writing paper, because this does make good writing paper, I might iron it. Let's cut the threads. I'm going to choose, this one's a good example to show you that you do not need to keep the paper showing if you don't want that, and you just want to use it as a way to keep your glue from seeping through. Just tear it underneath the edges. Now you don't see the brown paper, but you've got it there, and you can apply your glue there, and it's going to hold things a little better. So that is it for today, I think. This is a Tuesday that I am setting this up, and I am hoping that I will do a live on Wednesday. I'm going to kind of try to shoot for Wednesdays at noon California time, which is where I am, to go live. I don't know if I'll make it every week, but that's kind of my plan. People have wanted to kind of know when I was going to be on, and I sure do appreciate that. I appreciate all of my subscribers. It's amazing to me how you guys have helped me grow my channel. If you did like today's video, I hope you will leave a thumbs up, and if you're not already a subscriber, I hope you'll consider subscribing. And, you know, remember what I was talking about with fear. Let me know if you have a creative fear, let me know what it is down in the comments, please. And, you know, we'll see about talking about it in another video. This one. And so I can go around and be a little bit more picky with them later. All right, so going from one to another and having to cut the threads kind of inhibits the tearing part of things, but it's all good. It's progress. It's making something that is a make-ahead. You can get these things done up ahead of time. If you're going to be working on a journal, say in a particular theme, you know, why not, you know, you're working on a green journal, why not make a whole bunch of these up ahead of time in green, and then you will have them to, you know, put wherever you want. I like them. I like them, and I hope you like them too. My camera just blinked off for a minute. I'm not sure if there's going to be a dark spot on the video or not, but there we go. We have a nice number. I'm not going to count them all. A nice number of make-ahead embellishments to use in your junk journals. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.